All right, Will Cayeton from the Kentucky Valley Educational Cooperative. We have exported our professional broadcasting studio, The Holler, and we are live just outside of Campton, Kentucky on Tuesday, February the 18th, and I have a distinguished guest with me, Mr. Greg Shepard, and we're going to take a few minutes to talk about his place of business that he and his lovely wife have created over the last number of years, and I should pause for just a moment to share that this video vignette is for teachers and students because, as you well know, my work is predicated on transition opportunities for students in the region, and here's a wonderful example of a potential career pathway for our young people as they finish high school and move on out into the workforce. So, Mr. Shepard, thank you so much for the privilege of being in your place of business, and we're going to take about 10 minutes to talk a little bit about who you are, your story, your journey, the education that you experienced getting to this point, creating this business, and then from there we'll move into talking a little bit about the work that's done here and the different types of skill sets that are required, the kinds of wages and training required, etc., etc. And then our last segment will be following Mr. Shepard through his place of business to show you firsthand where the work is done and the kind of work that is done here, because it's very special. This is a jewel in the mountains of eastern Kentucky. So thank you, Mr. Shepard. The stage is yours, sir.
Well, I got started out of high school, went to vocational school in high school, and had 2 years of diesel mechanic.
And it was Breathitt County High School.
Breathitt High School, and left there, graduated, and went to Hazard area vocational school, Hazard.
Hazard
diesel
Community and
mechanic.
Technical College.
Went to diesel mechanic there, and ended up co-oping from there to a heavy equipment repair facility, Midco. Worked 3.5, 4 years there, and left them for a coal company in Perry County, Starfire, and worked 19.5 years there.
Wow. That's longer than I remembered from our conversation. 19.5 years for Starfire, the coal company. And you probably did all kinds of different things there.
Mechanic, air conditioned work, run equipment. Tried a little all of it. So, but I always done paint and body work on the side at home. Always dabbled in it because I grew up with it.
Because you shared your father taught you that trade, correct?
Yeah, he came back from the Korean War and went to Mayo Paintsville Auto Body School and run his own garage a few years, and ended up working for the Division of Forestry and Hazard.
Interesting.
So
didn't know that part.
Yeah, he worked for them for 17 or 18 years, I guess. And I learned all the body skills I got from him. Never actually went to school for body work, but he taught me that because he'd been to school. But I always wanted to do this, and then ended up seeing where the coal business was going. Don't know how,
and
but
this
I did.
was about what year that you made a change to establish your own place of business here?
Probably been about 21 years ago, 04, somewhere around there. Bought the building from them, tore it down out of Perry County, brought it down here, put it up, and
this is no small building.
No.
So talk just a little bit about the size of your facility here, because
the first section was 60 by 80 steel building, and we put it up and had 2 employees and outgrew it. And then I bought a 60 by 150 building, added on to the back, and now we got 4 employees.
And you did this yourself? You didn't have a professional company come in
No.
here and set this structure up, correct?
No, me and the guys that work for me, whoever got stuck with me had to work on the building every day. So all my employees had an input in on putting it up. So they're all like family to me and my wife. We run this together.
And your wife is she's the co-owner of this.
Yeah, and so it's exceeded anything I ever expected.
So how many years have you been up and running now?
Probably 21.
21 years. That's
Actually,
amazing.
here I'm originally from Breathitt County.
Mm-hmm.
We moved down here in '98, and like I said, it's just we tried to grow with our business as it grows. Put in the equipment.
Because your advice as a successful businessman, is often sought by friends of yours. And talk a little bit about growing with your business and how important that is, because young people need to hear that. You know, they may very well start out working for somebody, but at some juncture they may decide to do what you did. Mm-hmm. And so it's that, as we talked about in preparation for this video vignette, you talked about growing your own business and what that means. Could you just take a couple minutes to talk about?
Well, this business
some of your advice
is word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can advertise all you want, but people have to leave mm-hmm. satisfied. They have to tell other people that they were satisfied. Mm-hmm. And the more people that we do that way, the more people that mm-hmm. you end up getting as customers. Mm-hmm. And basically, the more comes back, the more mm-hmm. work you get, and the more work you get, the more people you have mm-hmm. to have. So you have to grow with it as you get more people coming. Mm-hmm. So, and we just, but like I said, the hardest part is trying to find people to work to do this type of job, because they're not teaching it anymore. Mm-hmm.
And here's an opportunity for you to talk a little bit about that.
The schools don't teach it. The school when I went to Breathitt had a auto body class. Mm-hmm. I guess right after I left out, they closed it, and it's never been opened back up since.
Because this is work that a robot cannot do.
Yeah, computers and robots can't do it. It has to be hands-on. Mm-hmm. I didn't choose to go to college. 12 years was enough for me. Vocational school was something that I did want to do, because it's hands-on. It's mm-hmm. not booked. It's not studying for 12 hours. So it's not, college is not for everybody. Mm-hmm. And I just feel like that vocational schools need to be brought back into the school systems, mm-hmm. because it got me where I'm at.
Mm-hmm. And we were talking last week, this is a big push by our president. Mm-hmm. So,
well, he says he wants to do that. He wants vocational schools back in every at the age you're at in high school, you really don't know what you want to do. Mm-hmm. I did, because I was planning on doing body work, but I got switched over to diesel mechanics, and because that was in the area, that was in the early 80s. Me and my wife graduated in 81, mm-hmm. and that was when there was a coal boom. Mm-hmm. So even though I had the body skills, the body work and painting, and mm-hmm. had done that on the side, I didn't choose to do that. Mm-hmm. I chose to do something that was available and ready to mm-hmm. do at the time, which was diesel mechanic.
Yes, sir.
And it helped us get where we're at, because it is hard to start from scratch doing something that like the body work. Mm-hmm. It would have been harder. So while working in the mines and working for the coal companies, I kind of set myself up to do this.
Started putting some money aside.
And buying used stuff. It didn't have to have everything new. Mm-hmm. We bought a lot of used stuff. Mm-hmm. One of the paint booths we bought when Hayes Chevrolet went out of business, we bought it used, tore it down, brought it down here and put it back up. Mm-hmm. And me and my guys done that. We mm-hmm. bought one from Green's Toyota in Lexington, mm-hmm. a booth that actually we found on Craigslist. Hmm. And so technology is out there, and it does help. So instead of buying a new paint booth, we went to Lexington, took my guys, went down, tore it down, brought it back up, put it back up. Hmm. So
saved yourself a ton of money, I'm sure.
Saved a lot of money. Overhead kills you starting out. Mm-hmm. So it's just exceeded anything I ever expected as far as a business. Never planned on really running my own business, but something I think everybody always wants to do. I think a big advantage to us being successful business-wise is being an employer, mm-hmm. employee, I mean.
Yeah, and talk a little bit about your role. This might be a good chance to talk a little bit about your role providing leadership for your business, as well as your wife's role, because there is a division of labor of sorts. There's an accounting piece,
Oh yeah, she does the biggest part of it, the hardest part. I try to keep the guys stuff to work with,
Mm-hmm.
and
Because you're not
keep the back.
supervising from afar. You
No,
are
keep
here.
the back of the shop running, and she keeps the front part running
Mm-hmm.
and deals with the customers. A lot of the women do come and get estimates, and they had feel more comfortable with a lady
Mm-hmm.
dealing
Mm-hmm.
with them than men.
Mm-hmm.
So she makes them feel more comfortable on that end, and I try to see that their car gets fixed right when
Mm-hmm.
they come,
Mm-hmm.
and that they're satisfied when they leave.
Mm-hmm.
So, but as far as them being an employee and then an employer, I respect my guys and I try
Mm-hmm.
to take care of them because I've been on that end. I've been an employee.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of times employers have never been on the employee end, and it makes a difference.
Mm-hmm.
I don't ask them to do anything that I wouldn't do myself
Mm-hmm.
or have not done. So, and they all do good. They're all skilled in what they do, and I try to keep them stuff to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
And talk a little bit about, you've got 4 employees right now. You've had more than that at different points in time, but how long have some of these employees been with you? I think one's been with you quite a while.
yeah, our frame technician Albert is it's close to 15 or 16 years.
Oh
I
my.
guess he's
Been
been with
with
me
you almost
the whole time,
pretty much.
and uh, my wife's brother-in-law Ken. I mean my wife's brother Ken. He's been with us I think 6 years. Uh, our painter's been with us about a year, and then my son-in-law's been with me 9 years.
Oh my, I didn't realize he'd been
So,
here.
and he'll be
Mm-hmm.
hopefully the one that picks up whenever I decide to
Mm-hmm.
step back.
Yeah, and we're about the same age, so I suspect you're probably not going to step aside anytime soon. You're probably going to go at it another decade or so.
Well, as long as they'll let me, till they ask me to leave. So, but no, I do want him to start picking up
Mm-hmm.
the younger generation because I'm still a lot of the clientele that I've got is from my dad,
Mm-hmm.
older
Interesting.
generations that he helped me get, and they still come to us. But as they die off, my son-in-law, he's
Mm-hmm.
younger, has to pick
Mm-hmm.
up a lot of his generation
Mm-hmm.
to keep the business going because it's basically repeat customers, word of mouth.
Yeah.
And you kids usually go where your parents go. They got a big influence
Mm-hmm.
on where they have stuff
Mm-hmm.
done, and as long as their parents go, then you pick up their kids. But they want to deal with somebody younger,
Mm-hmm.
so that's where my son-in-law Chris comes in.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And that's how I found you, was through word of mouth.
mm-hmm.
5 years ago, I brought my wife's truck here, and last year brought our car here. Nothing major, but still, you were the place to
We just
to come to.
try to make sure everybody's satisfied and be honest with people
Mm-hmm.
and do what we say
That sounds
to
wonderful.
the best of our ability.
Yes, sir. Now, this may be a good chance for us to shift into the second segment of our conversation about the different pieces of work that you do here, because this business is multifaceted. It's not what you might think it is. So let's take 5 or 10 minutes and talk about the different things that you do here, because our young people need to know that at a place of business there are lots of different opportunities for them.
Yeah.
So this is called Shepard's Paint and Frame,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a lot of stuff that goes on here.
Yeah, we started out, well, I've always done paint and body work on the
Mm-hmm.
side and done it in the backyard.
Mm-hmm.
And then we built a paint booth on the side of my garage and
Mm-hmm.
and didn't have a lot of equipment to work with, but I still was able
Mm-hmm.
to do the work. Found out real quick that most everything that wrecks now needs framework.
Mm-hmm.
It's bent, twisted, and parts don't fit if you don't pull them. So we bought our first frame rack 20 years ago, I guess, and realized it was small. So then we bought a bigger truck rack, and then we had our frame tech. That's all he does is works the frame racks. He pulls them, hangs the sheet metal and gets the gaps right, everything to fit. And then we needed paint booths, so one of the, like I said, the Chevrolet dealership in Jackson went out of business. We bought their paint booth. And then we seen that we couldn't paint enough, run enough vehicles through one booth, so we bought two booths. And our painter paints in two in each booth every day. So then we ended up realizing that the technology on the frame racks, we needed something to help us. So I bought Chief's Velocity measuring system, a computerized measuring system, and we bought it close to 7 years ago. And it makes a big difference on being able to pull and giving a printout before and after. Actually shows what was wrong with it and what we do to repair it, and gives you actual paperwork showing you what we've done. And since then, we bought the trucks kept getting bigger, so we had to buy a third frame rack that's 21 foot long because the trucks just kept getting longer and longer. So we've actually got 3 frame racks, 2 paint booths. We've actually took one paint booth and made a prep station out of it, where you can actually primer inside the shop. We've got a guy that pretty much just does her body work. Ken, her brother, wife's brother, pretty much does the body work and gets them in primer. And my son-in-law does that too, both of them, Chris. They can all do multiple jobs, but and then once they get in the paint booth, our painter paints them. And then we get them put together, finish them up, put them together.
Fascinating.
Do a little mechanic work. I mean, I've always done mechanic work, but I try to only do what we have to do with what we're working on. It's just, if I could hire a good mechanic, that I could keep one busy, but it's just, you only branch out so many directions. So we do frame pulling, frame straightening, painting, body work, and
that's a lot of work.
do our own air conditioner work.
Okay, interesting.
We don't have to outsource that.
And you mentioned to me last week you're in the process of buying a new piece of equipment.
Yeah, probably a alignment machine.
Okay, alignment machine.
Which
makes sense.
Is another job skill. So yeah, there's a lot of job skills going on as far as mechanicing, air conditioner work, alignments, frame pulling, painting. So
where did your employees learn these skill sets?
Most of the time at other jobs.
Okay.
And then they move around. My wife's brother, actually, when he was in high school, went to Breathitt County Tower in Jackson, and they sent him to school for front end alignments. So, and then he worked different places and picked up painting and stuff along the way. So he paints. My son-in-law paints. He learned it right here, Chris. So a lot of them I teach it here. I don't claim to be a teacher, but I can show them how to do it, and anybody that's got the initiative can learn it if they're interested. It takes somebody interested.
You mentioned to me last week when we started talking about wages generally for this kind of work. You said it was important to you to pay your employees well, because your remark, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit, if you pay peanuts, you get monkeys.
Well, there was a business guy told me that a long time ago, and I've tried to pay them a fair wage, for this area, not have to drive to Lexington. And so we try to give them a lot of perks that a lot of companies don't do: vacation time off, holidays off, just little stuff that I've seen as an employee working for other companies that meant a lot to me, and we try to do that with them. So,
and what kind of salary range are we talking about generally?
You talking about hourly?
Yes, sir. Because you pay them hourly.
Most of them around $15.
Okay, that's a nice wage. Yeah.
So.
And there's vacation time and sick time. We talked a little bit about that.
Yeah.
And that's accrued as they move forward. That's really great.
We've got several that gets 2 weeks paid vacation and all the holidays off, and so.
That's wonderful.
We, even though it puts us behind and puts us in a bind when we take a day off, but everybody needs time off. But we just, a lot of the little stuff, Thanksgiving, when I worked in the mines, they always gave us a turkey, and that always impressed me.
Mm-hmm.
And I still try to do that with my guys. I give them a turkey every year at Thanksgiving. So it's not always the big things. It's
Mm-hmm.
sometimes just the little things that impress me, and I hope they are grateful for it or whatever. But uh, we just me and my wife both try to treat them like we'd want to be treated,
Mm-hmm.
all our employees, and we look at it as all of them as our friends. I don't look at them as employees as much as friends, because we spend more time with them than we do friends, really. So
Yeah, and this might be a good opportunity before we pause and walk back through your facility to talk a little bit about work skills that young people moving forward need to have, your expectations for your employees. We talked a lot about that last week in preparation for this sit-down visit, and you shared some great stories. Got to show up.
my dad told me a story, and I guess he told it to me 150 times. He worked for Ellis Johnson Motors,
Mm-hmm.
which is halfway between Jackson and Hazard. Whenever he actually worked for a dealership doing body work, and that was probably in the early '60s. And that's what he told him. He said, "Whether you do anything or not, work time's at 7 o'clock, and I want you here at 7." They started a little earlier then than we do now. I started at 8, but it is important to show up on time, take your lunch on time, and leave on time. And that's always been something that's stuck with me. And you know, just seem like that's a hard feat to pull off, but it shows a little bit about character and stuff about you whenever you. But sometimes it can't be helped. But
And anymore, you hear employers complaining about their employees being preoccupied on their phones. So, have you had any of those
Never-
problems?
we've had a few employees in the past that one I threatened to put a block on it, just block the cell signal,
Mm-hmm.
and he finally got off of it. But he don't work for us anymore. But no, right now they use their phones anytime they want, and I don't say anything because they use them when they need them. They're not just on them.
Okay.
So
There is a difference.
Never had any problems with phones, really, to amount to anything. But it is a big problem. Phones are a big problem. But I've never had it here. It's got a good workforce, good group of guys, and my frame guy did one that does my frame pulling. He actually worked 7 years. I'd have left him out a while ago. He worked 7 years in Florence, so he got out of high school and got in that, and then he came back to Breathitt County, and then I picked him up, so he had got prior experience.
Okay.
So a lot of the guys that I've got has done that type of work, because it is hard work, and it's time consuming, and it's a skill. It's not everything they do back there is a skill, but anybody that's got the initiative and likes to do that can learn it. It can be learned.
And our students and teachers, our audience, they need to appreciate that our young people, as they move forward, they need to develop employable skills. And the skill sets that your employees have here are employable skill sets. For lack of a better description, it's applied engineering. That's what it is. And it's very sophisticated. There's a lot of diversity. So I suspect every day is a little bit different. And that's something that's enjoyable, I'm sure, to your employees.
We do have a lot of computers here. She does our estimates on computer. Our frame pulling is done on computer. We mix our paint. We've got 2 mixing systems, and both of our paint mixing systems require computers. But still, somebody has to mash the buttons on them.
Exactly.
No computers will fix anything we got back there. They help us fix it, but they don't do it. And that's where I think vocational training comes into play, and doing this type of work is hands-on. Even mechanicing from diesel end. When I started, you done everything mechanical. And before I got out of the diesel end, the guy making the most money was the guy that come up and plugged the computer in the equipment and diagnosed it and told us what was wrong with it. And then, but he made more money than the mechanic because of his technology. But still, somebody had to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
So if, like in my case, I didn't want to go on to college. 4 years of college wasn't for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up being on the end of fixing.
Mm-hmm.
There was other guys that did go to college that could run the computer and actually diagnose it. But you know, if that's for you, that's fine. But if it's not, you end up on and we raised 2 kids, me and my wife, and lived comfortable on the salary of a hands-on working guy. I mean, I didn't get a college education because it wasn't for me, and I don't regret anything I done. You know, everybody wants to make top money and be the big no work guy, but in reality, it's not that way.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody has to do the hands-on work.
That's right.
And all we do with computer and technology back here is help us do what we do.
And it
makes our job easier and speeds it up, and you have to keep up with the times. We're in a technology age, but it still can't fix it.
And there is a big vacuum in the skilled trades, vocational trades, and it's created quite a problem for our society. And there's good money to be made, good work to be had, as our young people, many of whom are attracted to the trades. They want to work with their hands. My own 11-year-old son frequently tells me, although he's going to move forward after high school and acquire training, we don't know exactly if that's going to be a vocational college or a traditional liberal arts education, but that's basically what you're alluding to, that a traditional liberal arts education is not the right match for everybody.
It's not.
And so he tells me all the time he wants to work outside, he wants to work with his hands. So I look forward sometime bringing him here to visit, because we've become friends over the last number of years. Your daughter works at Breathitt High, she's the nurse, and my wife is the Spanish teacher there, so we're all separated by about 6 degrees, it seems like, as we move forward. So thank you so much for that powerful story journey, spending a little bit of time talking about what your employees do here, the kind of skill sets that they display in accomplishing the work, and you and your wife have been very successful. And your family, you've got your brother-in-law working here, your son-in-law, and you've got a couple other employees. So it's a great story, and you are certainly an asset to our greater community. So with that, we will pause and we'll do our walkabout.
This is just what I used to start out working in, and we kind of outgrew it. I've turned it into my antique collection. Going to be a showroom when you come get your vehicle to be parked out there. We got a break room here that just gives them a place to come in, eat their lunch, take a break. This is one of my frame racks. When they wreck, they get bent, and it actually straightens the frame and straightens the body panels, aligns everything back up to where all your panels fit. This is our smaller frame rack. We're redoing a Corvette. This is one of our paint booths. It's the downdraft booth. Keeps it clean, what that does, and makes it where you can see. And then this is our mixing room where we mix all of our paint. He actually mixes what he needs in the right color and can tint it. And then this was a paint booth that I made a prep station out of. It's so we can primer and out in the shop, and it sucks all the dust and stuff out. That's actually a paint booth though that we've got the only shop around that you can do a school bus in. We can pull a school bus sideways and actually paint out in the shop, and not have to be in a booth. So this rack I bought for cab corners and rockers. See the piece we put in, the black, just gets them up. That's actually an alignment rack, but we use it to get the guys up off the ground where you're not working right on the ground. This is one of our frame racks. This frame was bent, he's straightening it. This is from another shop, and we just do their framework. They'll finish it.